journal's Facebook or
our
the
journal
Light 'em Up
and
Lounge?
Reinhard Pohoretz, both of
Gotcha.
them actually, as well
You're
as
live.
the Light 'em Up one. We're live.
Alec, good to see you. Say hello to Mr. Lipson for me. I'm going to
Will
step
do.
out in
Good
a
to see
bit.
you also. Oh, you're taking off?
Yeah, I've got to go do a bike ride before the thunderclouds come in.
Oh, well, have a good ride.
Always
Have fun.
busy. Well, welcome one and all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I wish you a wonderful Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, wherever you are. People tuning in from all around the world, yet again, Asia, Middle East, Europe, the United States. I'm honored to welcome Alec and Bradley Rubin tonight for our Light 'em Up session. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Welcome.
We're doing well. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us, Reinhard.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure and honor. And as always, ladies and gentlemen watching, wherever you're tuning in, if you have questions, please let us know. Put them into the chat box here at the Light 'em Up Lounge on Zoom. For all you guys tuning in via Facebook, please put your comments, your thoughts, your considerations underneath the live video, and I'll forward all your questions to Alec and Bradley. Gentlemen, so without further ado, let's get into this. And I would like to start asking you both actually, what are some of the earliest memories that you still have with you regarding your relationship as brothers?
Oh, man.
Alec, you want to go first?
I think the first memory I have of Bradley being my younger brother was when I asked my dad if we could give him back. But that didn't go so well, apparently. But yeah, I think that's my first memory of having a younger brother.
It's really nice.
It wasn't meant to be mean. It was just the truth.
For me, I always looked up to Alec, so I always wanted to be around him. I don't know that I have a specific memory, but Alec had like a pull-out bed in his bedroom. So instead of wanting to sleep in my own bed in my own bedroom, I always wanted to sleep in Alec's second bed just so I can be near him more.
That's actually a wonderful memory. I guess that sort of evolved over the years. How did you guys get along over those years, growing as brothers and then finally growing into business together?
So we actually got along extremely well. We're very different people in every way, but I mean, like Bradley said, I always took care of him in any way possible. So, I mean, I got in more fights taking care of Bradley than I did for myself, just making sure he was protected. But, you know, we're very fortunate to be so close and, you know, have such a good relationship. And now we get to work together, which is phenomenal. Did I lose you?
Yeah. No, we're good. Alec and I are very different. I think when we were younger, we used to be a little bit more similar, but like Alec said, I mean, and he still does, but at the time when we were younger, he definitely was protecting me more because I would egg people on and I knew I had Alec to back me up. But then there was times that I would egg him on and it didn't go so well for me in those moments because he could definitely beat me up for sure. So, but I always knew that Alec would always look out for me and take care of me if I needed it and let me hang out with him and his friends and all that stuff. So I think as we've gotten older, we've gotten more different in our interests and what we do during the day, but I know I always have him back me up.
The problem is I still try to take care of Bradley, and he doesn't need it anymore. So it could be a little bit much sometimes.
Would you say that you're a bit like the yin and the yang? And if so, who would be the yin and who would be the yang?
Bradley.
I don't know exactly what the difference is between the yin and the yang. I know they complete each other, but I wouldn't say that we complete each other. I don't think so by any means.
More like a weird version of fire and ice than anything.
There we go.
That's a good way to put it, I'd say. Yeah. Alec, Bradley, father started a company, Alec Bradley, which is actually named after the two of you. The zenith of the boom, or like actually even showed me past the peak of the boom, I'd say. what was that feeling like for you growing up with that family background? And at what point did you realize like this is something truly particular here? I mean, I guess it was probably also a bit of a weird situation for you when you were young and in school, and everybody's asking, so what's your family doing for a living, right? And then you say, well, we're in tobacco. Did that ever bring up like any weird situations, or how was that like for you?
Bradley, you want to go first?
Yeah. Reinhard, you made a very good point on, being kids and being asked, what does your father do? Or, when your family comes in to explain that stuff, it's a pretty negative connotation to be heard in elementary school or middle school. And I remember even our neighbors telling us that what our father did was inherently bad or negative, and that it does, this or that, and all the stereotypes that come along with just tobacco in general. So we definitely, I think Alec and I both had that. But at some point for me, I remember my father's best friend coming to me and kind of just like held a cigar in his hand, and he's like, your dad makes a lot of people happy with just this one cigar. And I was probably maybe 13 years old, and I think that's when I realized that what he was doing was special, and not just that he was making a product that gave people enjoyment or happiness, but that he was continuing to do it at a larger scale every year.
Yeah, I completely agree with Brad saying. It was definitely strange growing up being with our family in the tobacco business. And people make comments. And I mean, I remember writing a paper in school one time and getting a bad grade on it because it was about tobacco. And so growing up, it was very strange, but I was always very proud of what my father did. And I think once I turned 18 and had my first cigar, I really realized what it all was. And my perspective on it changed a lot. Made me even more proud of what he did, and understanding how it really brings people together in conversation, and it's a moment to relax and all this craziness. So I mean, I fell in love with it probably within the first 3 weeks of turning 18 and just smoking cigars within those first 3 weeks.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that paper you mentioned in school was about the history of tobacco in America, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, you did your research. It was like I was in like fourth or fifth grade, and I wrote a paper of how tobacco helped build the United States, and I got a horrible grade on it. And I actually, my dad actually went into the school and helped and fought it because the paper was well written. The teacher just didn't like the content.
Did that history part and the historical considerations of tobacco in America like mean something special to you, or would you say that is still to this day an important part of the way you look at cigars in the industry?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's, I mean, it wasn't as important to me back then because I still didn't really understand what cigars were. But I knew it was something my dad did. I wanted to know more about it. So that's what I decided to write my paper on. And now that I'm in it and I go down to, Central America and visit the factories and really just get to see how the history of cigars and growing tobacco has not changed over however many years, there might be some things like small innovations in growing it that just, makes it a little bit easier. But for the most part, cigars have not changed for hundreds of years. So the history definitely means a lot to me, and especially in America, because I mean, so much of this country was built on tobacco that people don't even realize. And it's just crazy how that's written off within history books and all of that.
Right. Um, when your father started Alec Bradley, it was a challenging situation. It was a challenging start from the beginning. Um, did you did you feel that somehow also at home? Did you realize what was going on business wise within the family, or at what time did you really start to grow an interest for what was going on with the company?
for me, I knew when I look back at things now, I realize kind of what happened, but in the moment, I didn't see what was going on. So my father started the company. It wasn't successful overnight, right? So he was working a second job to help supplement his income to make sure that he was able to run the company properly. And I knew he was working two jobs, but I didn't really understand what he was going on for him to be able to succeed until I got older, understood like, oh, he wasn't making enough money just running, the cigar company. So he had to go do other things to make sure that our family was taken care of. And it was never very evident within our household, like that he was struggling because our parents always just wanted us to think that everything was okay. But for a period of time, it wasn't. Probably for the first 8 to 10 years, it wasn't. So looking back at it, I mean, I'm obviously extremely proud of what he's built and what he's done, but I had no clue growing up.
When was that moment when you realized, okay, now things are really moving, and the success story really of Alec and Bradley began?
Let's see. Probably closer to, 2008, 2009 is when I started realizing. Somewhere around there. How about you, Bradley?
I think Bradley was just muted because he got a little bit of an echo on his voice. I think it's due to the room that he's in, probably. We'll see if we can.
Yeah, let me see if I can find some headphones real quick.
Awesome. Cool.
I'll be right back.
But one thing for me is definitely when the most evident success was when Prince Otto got #1 in Cigar Aficionado. I know we're on Cigar Journal, but that was probably when I started understanding what was going on. And I had just really started working for the company that summer, not that summer, just around that time doing cold calling and stuff like that. So it was my first time really around the business in a more professional capacity, because before that I was just working in the warehouse during summer. So I wasn't really involved in the day-to-day business so much, but really seeing that happen is when I knew there was some kind of turn within the business.
I mean, for some people, I think it's the absolute dream to sort of get into the family business, work alongside your brother, your father. For others, it might be an absolute nightmare. Was it very challenging at the beginning to sort of find your ways and who does what? How about the different roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been challenging at different times. So I was working part-time while I was still in school, and that wasn't that challenging because I didn't have that many responsibilities. So it was kind of just I was doing what I was told and I got it done, and that was the most of it. Once I had to start breaking out of being told what to do and figure out what I'm supposed to do to help make this company grow is when things got really tough, especially between me and my father, because he thought I should be doing certain things. I thought it was more important to do other things. And then once we kind of figured each other out in terms of our working styles, things got way easier. With Bradley, I knew where I stood for about 4 years before Bradley came in. And when I came in, I wanted to change a bunch of things. I wanted to do a whole bunch. I wanted to just like push everything in different directions, test boundaries. And I definitely did that. And I probably upset some people within our office, but it was just my way of coming in. And then when Bradley came in, he did the same thing. But the person he pushed back against the most was me, because he knew he could. And when he comes back, he'll agree with you. I mean, he'll agree with me. He pushed back against me as much as possible. So Bradley and I had a very rocky start when he started working in the business, because he was just pushing against me every single time, every chance he got. And once we kind of figured each other out a little bit and what our working styles were, things got a lot smoother. And especially once we started dividing responsibilities, things got a whole lot easier. And
who was actually taking care of what when you guys started in the company?
well, I have more of a background on the sales side. And I handle more stuff on sales and logistics. Bradley handles a lot more of the marketing and brand development. But when we started our own part of the company, Alec and Bradley, we both were trying to do everything. And so we were stepping on each other's toes constantly. And once we broke it out a little bit in terms of, hey, why don't you focus more on this because this is more where your passion lies, and I'll focus more on this because this is where more of my passion lies. That's when things got a little bit easier. So I handle a lot of the, sales side and blending, and Bradley handles more still of the marketing and brand development in terms of artwork and stuff like that. And we still have to agree on everything before we move forward, but it's just one of us will take charge on it and lead up the effort, but we're both still involved in every way.
Now, growing up as the Rubin family, but then working together within Alec Bradley Company, what would you say were some of the key learnings that you took away from your father? What were some of those core values and beliefs that he installed in you?
There's been a lot over the years that I've taken away from him, but the number one for me is probably just dealing with integrity, because it kind of goes across the platform when you just deal with integrity. So you don't want to put out bad products. Anyone that you deal with on a business level, you want to make sure you're dealing with yourself with a high level of integrity, so you're not hurting anyone and you're not hurting yourself. But there's been a lot of like little things that I've learned, but the number one is definitely just have integrity in what you do.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I don't know if Bradley is still back, is already back with his headphones, but if not, Alec, we'll keep it with you then.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
When did you actually first develop the idea of you could also do something on the side, carving your own path, even though you're of course still involved with the classical family business, Alec Bradley, but then that little side hustle, when did that?
So what happened there was I always knew that I wanted to come out with my own cigars. I just thought it would always be under Alec Bradley. And Alec Bradley functions in such a way that there's a certain amount of people involved in what happens. There's a certain tasting panel when it comes to the blends. There's a certain amount of opinions when it comes to the artwork and the concept and all that stuff. So Bradley actually came to me one day, probably 6 months after he started working with the company, and said, I think we should come out with our own cigar. And I said, I didn't think we were ready for that, but I love the idea. Let's go talk to Dad about it. And he said, but the caveat on that is, this is our own thing. Like, Dad's not involved. No one else within the company is involved. And this is so we can show, the world what our palates can do and what we can come up with in terms of the concepts. So that, because one thing within this industry is it takes time to earn your stripes. It takes time to earn the respect amongst the other manufacturers, the retailers, and the consumers. And Bradley thought that this was really the way to earn our stripes, was to come out with start our own company and come out with our own products. So we went and talked to my dad. He said he loved the idea. He's all in. And then Bradley told him there was one caveat, and that was that he's not involved. And so he told us to leave his office for a little while and come back. He would tell us when to come back. And we came back and he said, okay, I love the idea. I think you guys should do your own thing. But the one caveat is, since I'm not involved, you're paying for your production. And I was probably a little bit more prepared for that than Bradley was at the time, because I just know how my dad works. I worked with him a little bit longer than Bradley had. And I was like, yeah, okay, we're going to do it. This is the only way for us to really make a name for ourselves within this industry. This is what we're going to do. And it's worked so far. Hopefully we keep that momentum going.
Bradley, welcome back.
How's my volume sound now?
A little muffled.
A little muffled?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I can move.
So you could turn down the volume a little bit. I think that might help.
Okay. Is that any better?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Great to have you back. Bradley, describe a little bit, how was that for you when you started with your own project?
It was tough. like I have said before, Alec and I are very different people. So working with him is difficult, and not necessarily because of him, but because of how we are with each other. So we tend to butt heads, and we might agree with each other and still be against each other. So we're constantly fighting and trying to figure out how do we come to an agreement so we're both happy with the final product. And it's with Blind Faith, with Gatekeeper, and with our next project, Kintsugi, the same things have continued to happen, and we don't know how to make it stop. So it hasn't been easy, but I think it makes for the best final product we could possibly have.
I will say Gatekeeper was a little bit easier than Blind Faith and Kintsugi.
Now, what I'm curious about this, though, you worked together before and you knew each other your whole life. So did you go into that project fully aware of what's going to happen and there might be some clashes? Or did you only realize that once you actually kicked it off?
I think we knew there would be some clashes. I just don't think we knew to what extreme they would be. Bradley, you agree?
Yeah, we're brothers. We argue, we fight. And I thought we would get along on certain aspects and disagree for other things, but every step of the way is definitely a battle.
Now, you mentioned Gatekeeper, the follow-up to Blind Faith, and you said that Gatekeeper was probably a bit of an easier project, but well, actually, Blind Faith already did very well, right? You sold out super quickly on all that with brick and mortar. So that was really an achievement and a kickstart. How do you go about creating those new lines? Would you say it has to be totally different from everything that was done before with Alec Bradley? What is your particular take on that, and how do you think about creating new blends and lines?
So part of what we do, Brad, do you want to go first? I'm sorry.
Sure. What I was going to say is that we're always trying to do something a little bit different than what Alec Bradley does. We want people to have a different experience, but still a good experience. And our cigars are a reflection of us, just like our father's cigars are a reflection of him. So for Blind Faith and Gatekeeper, we want people to know who we are, know what we like to smoke, and if we can tell just a fun story while doing that, then I think that's what we're going for, is for people to have an experience that is so overwhelming, from the artwork to the vista and the box and the cigar, that it all kind of comes together and tells one cohesive story.
What's really cool is in this whole thing is Bradley's great at concepting, right? He comes up with all the concepts for all of our projects, for the Alec and Bradley projects. So he came up with a concept for Blind Faith, Gatekeeper, and Kintsugi. And then the way we kind of parse things out is he does the concepting and a lot of the artwork and stuff like that. And since I focus more on the blends, he tells me the concept of what he's thinking and what blend should go along with the artwork and all that. And then I take the challenge out of going and finding that blend. And that's how we've kind of kept things from escalating even further in terms of our bickering. But I give Brad a lot of credit for the concepts he's come up with, because they've been really cool and people have attached to them.
Is it concept first for you and then the cigar, or vice versa, or would you go in both directions?
We've gone in both directions. Either we'll have the cigar and he'll build a concept around it. But like on Kintsugi, he had the concept and I went and found the cigar for it. So it just depends on what happens first. If he comes up with the concept first, then I'll find the cigar for it. And if I find a great blend, then he'll build the concept for it. So it's a really cool back and forth.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Plenty of echo from your side. I think it's probably the room.
Yeah, it's probably the tall ceilings.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go outside. I'll make all this stuff, I promise.
It's probably because you live in or you're in a big castle right now, right? You got some amazing backdrop right there.
He's gonna go jump in the backyard so that there's no more echo. But
Like,
he'll
whereabouts
be
are
back.
you at the moment?
What was that?
Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm at home in my garage actually.
Right. Got your
Yeah.
little man cave all.
Yeah, I got my little smoking area in the garage, and I have some whiskey next to me and a couple boxes of cigars. So I'm very happy in this spot.
Now, since we were talking about the cigars and the blending process and actually how you come up with the concepts for these cigars, if you were to describe the individual of Alec and Bradley in comparison to Alec Bradley, what would those two philosophies and individual, characteristics?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit, but so if I think if I heard you correctly, the philosophy difference between Alec Bradley and Alec and Bradley is Alec Bradley always tries to be flavor forward on all of its products, and really, no matter what cigar you buy from Alec Bradley, you should have a better experience than what you paid for it. That's always our goal. On that side. On the Alec and Bradley side, it's kind of going outside the box in a sense and just trying to come up with really just show a reflection of who we are as individuals and show what our palates can do in different ranges to give the consumer a different experience from Alec Bradley, because maybe someone hasn't found a cigar they like from Alec Bradley. And we try to provide something that is a little bit off the beaten path from what Alec Bradley does, and really just show our palates and the way our minds work a little bit to give something that we think is a different kind of niche within the industry.
Yeah. How's my volume now? Much better?
Much better.
Bradley, it's incredible, fantastic. Good to hear you in a clean way. Perfect.
I'm glad to hear. So yeah, Alec hit the nail on the head. But when it comes to, like I said, having a cohesive package and story, I think Alec and I are in the belief that the cigar has to match the story and the packaging. Sometimes if you have a light cigar, you may not want to put dark packaging on it because there tends to be conflict to the consumer and what they're seeing. They see maybe a white box, but they're getting a full peppery dark Nicaraguan cigar. So we want everything to be as cohesive as possible so we can tell the consumer with the packaging what to expect. So it changes on every cigar for us, and it's always part of the process that takes us so long to to finish our cigars and releasing them, because we're always trying to think, what does the consumer think and how do we give them the best experience from the moment they walk into the cigar shop and see the box, and finally to ripping off the band and being like, I'm done, I'm ready to put the cigar out. So the whole experience is what we're focused on.
Well said.
You met so many people in the industry. You've been to so many factories and operations. Was it necessary for you to also carve your own path in terms of the people you're working with and the manufacturers that you choose for the individual lines?
It probably wasn't necessary, but it was something that we wanted to do just because we are trying to do our own thing and show who we are and what we can do. Like working with Ernesto Perez Carrillo, Alec Bradley only makes one cigar in the Dominican Republic at the moment, and it's a bundle product. So working with Ernesto in the Dominican Republic was something that but especially Bradley, felt was very necessary for us to do, just to go outside that box again and go outside of what Alec Bradley does, just to really show who we are as individuals again.
Mm. And I guess that also comes down to like the design of the rings, of the cigars, everything, just to make a clear cut and make everybody aware of, here you are with your own brand and marking your own path in the industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to go along with that, a lot of people have told both Alec and I that, just saying Alec and Bradley as the brand name is still confusing, and that and I see it on the internet, on social media, that people have a hard time making the distinction. But then I also find that people are researching. They're doing they look and they go, Alec and Bradley. I thought it was Alec Bradley, and they take the time to look it up on the internet, and they go, oh wow, Alec Bradley is actually named after Alan Rubin's two sons, Alec and Bradley, and now they're making their own cigars. So it helped give some context to what people believed at the time, that our father was Alec Bradley, and it helps give them a little bit more insight and info on our family and what our business is about.
Yeah, and naming the company Alec and Bradley was really a strategic move, even though it confuses a lot of people. And I mean, some people have told us it was stupid to name our company that. Some people told us it was very smart. But the real reason we did it was obviously Alec and Bradley shows that it's both of us together doing this project, but also strategically, it gave us a built-in fan base of people that saw Alec Bradley on a box and would say like, oh, this must have something to do with Alec Bradley. Let me give this a try. And it kind of gave us a leg up in a little bit versus doing something called Rubin Brothers or whatever it may have been, or coming up with a completely different name. People kind of knew what it was from the get-go, which gave us a great opportunity.
Marvin over on Facebook had a question, and he says that he really likes the cigar bands of Alec Bradley. Who is in charge of the designing of that, and what would be different in the process with Alec and Bradley?
In that process, Alan always, our father, always has the final stamp of approval on every band. On most of them, he's very intricately involved on all of them. But for the ones that he's not, at the last second, he could come in and change everything. After we've been working on it for 6 months, you never know. He could spend 3 weeks just changing everything that we've done. On Alec and Bradley, I would say a good 70% of it is Bradley, and I have probably 30%, a little around 30% input. But it's the two of us.
Bradley, what does that creative process look like for you when you think about how could this new cigar line be illustrated? What could be the ring, the box, whole spiel?
First, for me, it usually starts with the name. You know, what's that cool name that's going to make someone want to, first pick it up. So I have in the notes app on my phone, just lists of just different weird
probably
names
over 200 names
that I think, could have some sort of cool story to it. And then, then I think, what does the box look like usually? And then how do we translate something from the box over to the band? And then finally, what cigar gets wrapped, by this band? So for me, it usually kind of starts as a top-down view and then goes to the box and then to the band and then to the cigar. And that's how I like to look at it, but sometimes you got to start with the band and then move on to the box. And it's always about just figuring out for one particular project what the right path is. And sometimes I get stuck and I want to work on something else and then go back to it later. So it always starts with the name for me, because when I hear something cool, you watch a movie or you listen to a song and you go, oh, I like those two words together, and maybe that's it. And then how do we tell a story about that? So it's always fun. And then I get really excited and we're working on something else and I go, hey guys, what do you think about this? Alec, I love this name. What do you think about it? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. But we're working on something else. I'm like, I know, but this is really cool. This is really, really cool. So I always get weird looks.
That's how Blind
I get
Faith
weird looks at the office sometimes.
Well, that's how Blind Faith came to be. We were working on a different name, and then Bradley came and said, I have a better name. We're scrapping the project and starting over again. And I said, cool, let's do it.
So would you like to shed some light on how the ultimate product then came to be?
Oh, well, Blind Faith was a year process. What was that, Brad? I think we lost Bradley.
Yeah, I just got back in.
Okay. With Blind Faith, that was a year process because it was for our first cigar, we really pushed the boundaries on that Blind Faith blend, and Bradley had started with a different name and style artwork completely. It was very interesting. We went through over 30 blends before we landed on the Blind Faith blend, and the blend actually contains all Maduro, and Ligeros in the filler. So it took a long time to get that construction right, because when you have that much thick tobacco in a filler, your binder better be perfect to make sure that thing smokes well. So that took that was a very long process to blend that cigar, as well as with Bradley, heading it down one direction, and I backed him completely. He came to me and said, "This isn't working, and I have a better name. So let's scratch that and start over." And then the process just kind of went very smoothly from that point. And it was a fun project, and it took a long time, a year from the day we said we were going to do it to the day it released, but it was a great learning experience for us.
Was Gatekeeper then the natural succession of that beginning of the journey that you had with Blind Faith?
Brad, you want to explain the whole thing with Gatekeeper, the whole story behind it?
Yeah. I mean, first it started off with kind of what Alec was talking about earlier, and how do we do something different? So naturally, my mind said, we don't make any Dominican cigars. Let's do something in the Dominican. And so then it was, well, we don't have really those connections, but who do we go to? What's the factory? Who's the person that's going to lead us in that direction and help us achieve this? And I was always a fan of Ernesto cigars. His blends speak for himself, and he's been in this industry longer than Alec and I have been alive combined. So naturally it was him, but I didn't know him at all. I thought he was this scary, grumpy old man, and I was afraid to approach him. So luckily I went to Alec, and he's like, "Yeah, I know Ernesto," and same with my dad. And they made the introduction and asked, and he was more than happy to work with us. So then it kind of moved on from there. He was excited, and we were as well. And we went back and forth, said what we wanted, what we didn't want in our blend. And Ernesto, after going back and forth and us going down to the factories, he provided us with the blend. And Ernesto's made a lot of cigars, and also for a lot of other people. And so we asked Ernesto, what do you think? And he's like, no, I can't make that decision. I can't give you my opinion. This is for you to decide, because if I tell you my opinion and it doesn't work out well, because you went with what I said, then it's kind of on me. You have to make that decision for yourself. And so we did. And he's kind of said what our father said with Blind Faith was, yeah, I would have picked that one too. And it worked out great. And Gatekeeper is really an homage to Ernesto. We thought that after we made the cigar and people tried it and hopefully loved it, that he would kind of open up the gates for us, and we would be on a new path in our cigar journey and our cigar life. And I think that's what has happened. People seem to really, really enjoy the cigar, and the feedback has been great. So it was one of the best experiences I could have hoped for.
Yeah, Ernesto really pushed us in a lot of ways, in our palates, in how we thought about things. And it was very interesting because Bradley and I, when we smoke blends, are used to having like between 4 and 7 of the cigar to decide if we like something. And Ernesto's belief is you don't need 4 cigars. You don't need to smoke it 4 times to know whether you like it or not. So he would give us 3. And we only one of us got to smoke 2, but he pushed us to have to be decisive and decide within either 1 or 2 cigars whether we like the blend or not. And that really tested us and pushed our palates and made us pay more attention as we were smoking than we would otherwise. And working with him was an incredible experience, one that I hope to get to do again.
I'm pretty sure that together with your father, you trained a lot. You tried to evolve your palate to grow your experience on a sensory basis as well. How did that whole game change when you started working with Ernesto?
It really tested us, because I thought that, I'm gonna guess Bradley, has the same opinion. I thought that my palate was at a certain level when we started working with Ernesto. And then after just talking with him and smoking with him and going through different stuff that he's blended or new blends he was working on or this or that, I realized that I still have a lot to learn. And I knew that already, but I realized I have even more to learn than I realized. And I think he helped me grow my palate and the way I think about tobacco as a whole, which was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Bradley?
Yeah, similar to Alec, a lot of people when they are blending cigars or they're talking about cigars, it's always the main focus, is always that wrapper. It's the most beautiful part. What's the wrapper on the cigar? What's the wrapper? Everyone wants to know about this. And I think Ernesto has a little bit of a different approach in that
Hold on.
What?
We're not supposed to say exactly how he does it.
I can't talk about it.
No.
I guess I got blocked.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
No, he asked us to keep his what he taught us a little bit to ourselves.
Okay. I guess I got blocked.
I'm sorry. That was privileged information that we got. Otherwise, I would totally feel free to tell you. The one thing I will say is the way we blend is exactly the opposite of how Ernesto blends.
Which is
So
also
it was,
a point.
yeah. Our starting point and his starting point are exactly opposite in every single way.
Very interesting.
Sorry, Bradley. I wasn't trying to stop you there.
Don't be sorry to me. Be sorry to the viewers.
We were asked not to.
Well, that's all good. Some things got to be confidential. That's perfectly
Yeah.
fine. Just because we were talking about Gatekeeper and Blind Faith before, Oyston, and I'm glad Oyston's watching. We say hello to our gentleman. He was asking, like a customer who walks into a cigar shop, what do the names of Gatekeeper and Blind Faith actually mean? I mean, I guess we're going to go into the story of your third project, which is probably a little more obvious, but how about the first two?
So Blind Faith is really about the start of our journey in this industry, at the start of our career in making our own cigars. When we came to our father about this and he said, yeah, I think it's a great idea, he had blind faith in us. For every distributor or retailer that decided to bring our first cigar in, they had blind faith in us and that we knew what we were doing, that we would come out with a good cigar. For every consumer that walks into that shop and then they pick up that cigar because they think it's going to be good, they have that blind faith in us. So it was the start of what people were giving to us, which was that blind faith that they don't know if it's going to be good because and we didn't know if people would think it was good because this is the start. This is the first try. They can't say, yeah, I like the other stuff that they've made because we haven't made anything. So that was the reason for blind faith. And I still smile thinking about that just in my head and people having blind faith in us because it meant a lot to me and I'm sure to Alec.
Absolutely.
And then for Gatekeeper, it was again an homage to Ernesto. He is the gatekeeper. Like I said, I thought he was this grumpy old man who, if I said hi to him, he would just say, bug off and go get lost. And he was super nice to me, and he's the nicest guy I think I've met in this industry. So I thought of this grumpy old man, Ernesto, and he's the gatekeeper. He's been in this industry, and he's an iconic name for what he's done with his brand now and with La Gloria. And so after we work with this man and people fall in love with our second cigar, he's going to open the gates and we're going to be on this new path. So he is the gatekeeper. He's what puts us on a new journey.
The cool thing about what Gatekeeper to me is everyone that spoken, and we agreed on this, was it didn't necessarily taste like an Ernesto cigar and it didn't necessarily taste like an Alec Bradley. A lot of people said it was kind of like the perfect collaboration, because when you smoke a cigar that's a collaboration, a lot of times you get an influence as a majority from one side or the other. And people said like this was directly in the middle from what we expected. Like you either see, because if you smoked a lot of Alec Bradleys, you have that kind of factory profile a lot of time, or if you smoke an Ernesto, there's always that factory profile that lingers a little bit. And a lot of people said this was like right in the middle. So we were very proud of that because we didn't want something that was going to be one side or the other.
So besides the fact, Bradley, that people keep complimenting your epic mustache, and they absolutely love that look. We had another comment here at the lounge from Filippo. Filippo, it's always great to have you on the show, and I think you had sort of a follow-up question to something we touched before. Thanks for tuning in, Filippo. Great to see you.
Hi. No, it was just listening the conversation. No, taking the moment when they decide how to call the company. I find it very nice. I don't see it as taking advantage of something towards more. It's giving a tribute to the father's work. That was, I mean, that what how I see it when I think about it. That's all. So I think it's very nice.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And it wasn't
very kind.
necessarily us taking advantage of something. It was more just trying to say who we were, and it is a bit of a, you know, an homage to what our father has done within the industry, and keeping it so closely related was, you know, just being so proud of where we came from in some respects.
Alec and Bradley, I'm pretty sure that once you start such a new project in an industry that you've already been working in, plus your father having such an epic track record, there's probably a lot of people who approach you, offering some help and guidance in order to get you along on your path. Did you have like quite a few of those people, and how did you react to that?
We always have people that offer their advice, and it may be from a different position than our father. It may not be another manufacturer, but let's say a retailer, and the advice is always welcome, because we are young and we're new, and you know, it may be different than what our father has to say, and we can weigh out those, you know, those two different pieces of advice if they go against each other, because we are, you know, we're our own people. We don't have to just go by what our father says or recommends, even though I think Alec and I hold him as, you know, our both of our mentors, and that we usually would go with what he says because we hold him in such high regards. But the advice is always welcome, and you know, for some things that maybe you know, I've asked my father, but I want a second opinion. You know, I may go to someone else. I may go to you know, maybe Matt Booth from Room 101 or Pete Johnson from Tatuaje. You know, it's always good to get some feelers out there and create these relationships, because you know, it's hearing from other people is great, but ultimately you make the decision. And yet some people like to bounce those ideas off of others who maybe get them in a different way, depending on what you're going for. So, you know, artwork is something that I always go to my father for, because I know he has a great eye and he's very specific in what he likes. And, you know, where, if you're looking at the band, you're looking at the box, you know, where does your eye take you? And does that take you away from somewhere else in the other part of the box? And, you know, he's like a mad scientist sometimes. And I just look at him like, I don't know if I should change it or not, even after he's given me all these pieces of advice. So it's ultimately, you gotta figure it out for yourself and not rely on someone to tell you, yes, that's good, or no, that's bad.
Yeah, Bradley said something really important there. He said at the end of the day, it's our decision. And what he really, well, the way I took it was, at the end of the day, it's our ass on the line if we screw up or not, right? So
Yes.
we're very fortunate in the sense that we grew up in this industry, and we have a lot of friends in this industry and a lot of mentors that we can turn to. But all of them at the end of the day will say, this is my opinion, but at the end of, you know, at the end of the day, it's your decision, because it's your brand and you have to really decide what's going to be best for your brand. But we're extremely fortunate that we're able to turn to other manufacturers, retailers, consumers, distributors, and, you know, of people that we've met over time, and get their true feedback as to what they believe, because they just want to see us succeed. So, I mean, at the end of the day, our father's our ultimate mentor, but Bradley and I have to have a discussion on anything to really decide, like, hey, here's the feedback we got, but we have to decide what's going to be best for us moving forward.
at some point, I think you actually had 3 generations altogether in the company, right? With your father and then even the grandfather generation in there. What does that actually mean to you? I mean, that's sort of an epic setup. My grandmother now is 99. She will be 100 in the beginning
Wow,
of January.
congratulations.
Wow, thank you. But like that's epic, right? But working with like 3 generations of one family altogether, I think that's outstanding. How does that feel to you?
So we were very fortunate because we had, I got to work every day with my grandfather for 5 years until he passed away almost 2 years ago. And there's something special about getting to spend time and gain the wisdom from, your father and grandfather every single day and ask questions about business and, just even that quality time that you get to spend with that person that you wouldn't otherwise get not working in a family business.
Mhm.
So like before our grandfather passed, we were very fortunate to spend every single day with him, ask him questions about business, about his life, and learn from him. And I mean, I'm gonna guess Bradley has the same feeling that I do.
Yeah, the most important thing I took away from my grandfather being at work every day was work ethic. My grandfather didn't really miss a day of work. If he did, it was to go to the doctor, and he would make sure that everyone knew that he was taking the day off to go to the doctor. And he was 90, 91 years old, and what kept him alive that long was him coming into work. He wanted so bad to be there, and our grandmother always tells us how much he talked about work every day and about us, and that ultimately is what keeps the passion going, is seeing him so happy to be at work every day. And if Alec and I showed up late, work starts at 9:30, and we show up at 10, and instead of good morning, it's good afternoon, just to kind of give a poke at us and say, in a nice way, by saying, you're late, show up on time. It starts at 9:30, not 10. So that it's what drives me. It's what makes me proud to come into work every single day.
Let's be honest. If we were 4 minutes late, he said good afternoon.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a wonderful point that you made here. And one thing that I keep sort of asking myself is when you initially thought about the project of doing something of your own, was it more to pay tribute to everything that your father did, or was it really like you doing your own thing and running your own flag into the ground?
I would say it was a combination. We wanted to do our own thing, but if we weren't at the same quality of what Alec Bradley did, we were missing, right? That was a failure in our opinion. So we wanted to take it in our own direction, but if the quality of the blend and the tobacco wasn't the same, if the artwork didn't stand out as much, that was a fail. We wanted to do our own thing, but we had to also maintain that Alec Bradley quality that people are used to every single day. And that was kind of the homage to our father while still trying to do our own thing.
Which is also a big burden though, right?
Yeah.
I have a similar answer to Alex, but it's kind of different. I would say that us doing our own thing is the tribute to our father. That us having that opportunity is what allows us to pay tribute to him by saying, we don't need to just kind of lay low and stay under just the Alec Bradley umbrella and how things look and how things taste. We have that option because I think it's something that maybe my father wish he had that option, because I think cigar smokers and Alec Bradley smokers expect a certain band or a certain profile or blend, and this way we could do something bold or daring or challenging, and we may get really bad feedback. That was something with Blind Faith that Alec and I were kind of searching for, was a cigar that wasn't for everyone, a cigar that people would say, I love it or I hate it, not, oh, I kind of like it. Because for us, for Blind Faith, that was a fail. We wanted people to just fall so much in love with it that they needed to have it and always have it. And then for Gatekeeper, we changed things up a little bit. So the going from cigar to cigar, we always want to present ourselves with a different challenge and do something that maybe our father wouldn't do.
Bradley, I think you mentioned a very important point here when you spoke about the expectations of your consumers and the people that probably were familiar with Alec Bradley for quite many years, right? Did you actually intend to target the very same audience with Alec and Bradley as you would do with the family company?
Yes and no. Our first cigar was made at Raíces Cubanas, which is our home factory, and which makes Prensado and Tempest and a lot of the cigars that people know Alec Bradley for. So we have a lot of the same tobaccos that they use. But the profile that came out isn't one that I think people would find in our portfolio. So there is similarities in what we did, but the packaging of the cigar doesn't fall in line with Alec Bradley or Alec Bradley smokers. It falls in line with maybe a different demographic who likes a little bit more of a boutique or feel. And we went with this very retro look of like the 90s a little bit. So I think the artwork in which we went for doesn't speak to maybe Alec Bradley smokers, because we kind of go, like, for example, this is our Connecticut, it's a little bit more traditional and classic looking. But Blind Faith is colorful and wacky and very out there. So we don't know that we weren't necessarily artwork wise going for the same demographic, but the profile for Blind Faith is bold, but has some of the same flavors that an Alec Bradley cigar would.
So one thing that came up a lot after we came up with Blind Faith was people would ask us, they would say, Blind Faith is really good. How are you going to beat it with your next project? And that kind of left Bradley and I stumped a little bit, because it was like, how are we going to come up with a cigar in the same range that is as flavorful with that nice strength at the same time? And we actually, with Gatekeeper, we're like, well, Blind Faith is great in that range. There's not necessarily a chance. Let's not even try to beat that that profile. Let's go to a completely different profile in every single way. And that was how we attacked Gatekeeper. And even with Kintsugi is a different profile than both Gatekeeper and Blind Faith. So instead of sticking within a profile that we feel like we did fairly well in, let's jump to something else completely in every single way and show the range of our palettes.
Would you feel that these three lines that you just mentioned are sort of the story of the evolution of Alec and Bradley, or would you much rather feel like these gonna be the core lines that will define Alec and Bradley moving forward?
Wow, that's an impossible question. Bradley, you have an answer for that? You're on mute, Brad.
Sorry, I'm definitely a little stumped on that question, because for me it's hard to look that far ahead almost. I would love if every cigar that we came out with is kind of like our core. We're only coming up on our third cigar, so it's hard to say that these are our three core products, because they're our only core products. That's all we got. So I do think it's a little bit of the evolution. I think things will change, and I don't know where they're going to, how or where they're going to go. But maybe we start to get more of a unified look. Maybe we continue to have no sort of look, but we continue having just products that don't match, but really unique stories and artwork. And I have no clue where this is going to go and how we're going to get there. But I'm just excited for the journey, because this is, to me, it's what it's all about, is what's next, and we'll figure it out as we get there. But in terms of what it's going to look like in the future, I could not tell you one thing.
Another thing that we have to look at is the fact that as our father slows down on certain things and allows Bradley and I to take over more, does our focus become more on Alec Bradley and less on Alec and Bradley? Like, how far is Alec and Bradley going to go if we're so focused and running the day-to-day on Alec Bradley? So another thing that we have to question is is how many releases is Alec and Bradley going to have? How many releases is Alec Bradley going to have? And where are we going to focus our attention as we have more responsibility within Alec Bradley? So there's a lot going on that we really have to figure out within this, probably the next 2 years, to decide how we are going to move forward. But as of right now, I think that Alec and Bradley, the 3 products that we're coming out with or that we'll have out, will be our core just because they are 3 different ranges in terms of palette. But who knows? Maybe our next product is somewhat similar to Blind Faith, and that will become the core over Blind Faith, or somewhat similar to Gatekeeper in terms of profile or range. And that one takes out. You never know what's going to happen within the marketplace. Do I hope that what we come out with stays our core? Absolutely. But you never know if one thing takes over another in some strange way.
Reinhard, that was a great question. That's one of the
That stumped me so bad. Yeah.
I would like to acknowledge how great of a question that was, because it was a very challenging one to answer. So I really appreciate that, actually.
Yeah, no, actually your questions today have been phenomenal, because obviously you've done the research to know what we've already talked about or not talked about, and ask the questions that haven't been asked yet. So I am absolutely loving this conversation.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It means so much to me. Thank you. And Alec, I also have to commend you, because you already took away my next question. You just answered there. So let's bring in Ryan, our very good friend from Dubai. It's always great to see him on the show.
You've been killing me. I've been dying to talk for like the past half an hour. I'm like, shit, that's what I wanted to say. Shit, that's what I wanted to say. No, look, let me start with a couple of statements. First of all, Reinhard, thank you. Always, always, always lifting the bar. Unbelievable. So talented. Thank you. Gents, I've been to your offices in Miami. I've met your father several times. I've worked with the team very closely. I absolutely love the cigars. And let me start with a couple of comments. Where you are today is naturally, if anything, is an amazing accolade to your father, because whatever he installed in you has worked. And yes, there is a lot of people are going to come and challenge you, and there's a component of the fact that you came from a cigar industry. But allow me to say this: fuck that. In this industry, if your cigars are not good, they will not sell. Okay, so that component, let's just put that out there for the time being. The other thing I wanted to say is Ernesto is phenomenal. The first time I met him, I was so intimidated by him. Once you get to know him, his sense of humor and how he laughs at his own jokes is just unbelievable.
Yes.
Okay, that's the second thing. Now, what I think you're doing from a strategy point of view is very smart. If you look at the market today, it's splitting between mainstream brands and boutique brands. And what you're doing right now is like a hybrid car. I love cars, so I use examples based on cars. You're very much a hybrid car, and you have the component for the mainstream. And if you ask me how I see things going forward, I think what you're going to do potentially is upgrade the old blends that you have, and you come up with 2.0s of some, like the cigar that Bradley's smoking right now or what have you. That's one of potentially the directions that you will go, because you will have to put your focus somewhere, maintaining what was already established, yet adding your own touch to it. Look, I can tell you one thing: people do love the Alec Bradley cigars here, but I'm getting a lot of demand for the Alec and Bradley cigars, or the A and B cigars here in Dubai, and we're getting ready to place a great order. So hopefully, we will get an allocation of some sort.
We can make sure that happens.
Yeah, but truly, I'm loving the direction where you guys are going. You're keeping it very real. You're keeping it very humble. But if there's one piece of advice I may just end my, and there's no question, as you can see, it's just a whole bunch of reflections from my mind. If there's one point I would like to end it with is, don't make your cigars a myth. The last thing you want to do is for your cigars to be sold out and become boxes that people collect but don't smoke.
I agree.
You want people to smoke your cigars. With all due respect to a lot of people in the industry, that their cigars fly in one day, but nobody smokes them, and it becomes like a tradable commodity rather than an enjoyable product. The beauty of the tobacco and the cigars you're putting together is that they're delicious. just keep it moving, please. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you for the kind words, but I've got to say, you have our office bugged because we're literally just talking last week about doing a 2.0 of an old Alec Bradley cigar line.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, when you look at you know where I see your touch is when you look at black market illicit, and you're like, okay, they're beginning to stick their finger in the whole process. You know, at least that's my perception. You know, so yeah.
So yeah, you're right. We're intricately involved in everything going on with Alec Bradley. Maybe not as much as we are with Alec and Bradley, just because there's more people involved with it and more opinions. But our day to day is based off working off Alec and Bradley and Alec Bradley in terms of concepting, coming up with new ideas, working on new blends. We're never just working on an entire day on Alec and Bradley. Our core focus is Alec Bradley.
Yeah, we have an Arabic saying that goes something to the effect of you're lost if you forget your past. So it's very important to keep attached to your roots, and that's what gives you strength to grow, I guess. I guess my Scotch is kicking in. I'm becoming a bit of
Oh no, we're all there. Don't worry.
Cheers. Thank
Cheers,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Right, you sort of inspired me to one other question, which I think is quite interesting. Now, Alec, Bradley, you both gained experience through starting your own company and developing your own blends, and obviously the process of working with Ernesto. How did that affect the way you think about the original cigar lines from Alec Bradley?
These good questions are killing me.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley, you want to go first?
Yeah.
I gotta think about that.
Yeah. It just gives us a different perspective. It gives we didn't have that knowledge until Ernesto kind of bestowed it upon us. So I think we still look at it from our original viewpoint and saying, this is how we did it. Let's continue to work like how we originally did, because not saying that what Ernesto gave to us was any better or worse, but let's just continue on doing what we're doing. And if we find that it doesn't work or we're stuck at some point, then we'll switch gears and we'll move on to a new way, a different way, something to get the wheels turning and then get us to the end point of our next product. So with our next blend that we'll be talking about soon, we went back to what we did on Blind Faith, really. And Alec was actually down at the factory without me. I think I was on another trip, and he executed the blend perfectly. It came out exactly how I had in my head, and just through that communication that usually Alec and I don't have, he was able to execute it, and it came out, I think, unbelievable. So it's something, again, different than what we normally do and have in our portfolio. So it continues that trend of what's different. How do we do it differently, but create still a great, enjoyable experience for our consumer?
The one thing, or I guess I have a couple things to say on that. The way that we approach coming up with our projects and our blends probably is one of the hardest ways possible. Well, where we come up with the concept first and find the cigar based off of that versus finding a good blend and building a concept around it. Because once you have an idea in your head of what a cigar should be, it's very hard to go find that blend and to make sure that it's absolutely what you were thinking with, like, in your head, especially when there's two of us. It's me and Bradley that have to make that determination. It's not easy. And I'll say that the blend for Kintsugi probably wasn't exactly what Bradley wanted in terms of strength, but it was exactly what he wanted in terms of profile. Because I think he wanted something more mild to medium, and this became straight medium. But another thing I want to say is that even though I'm the one that went and found the blend for Kintsugi, Bradley knew exactly what he wanted in his head for the cigar, and it wasn't easy picking apart his brain and figuring out exactly what his palate was looking for. And that was definitely a struggle for me, because I came back with a couple cigars that I thought were in the range of what he wanted, but even after he tried them all, we still made 3 or 4 changes to one blend that he liked before I was able to present him that final blend. So even though I think that what we do is a little bit ass backwards and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I think it gives us the best overall product and result the way that we do it. It might take longer. It might not be the best for the best way for our time, but it is giving us ultimately the best product that we could come out with.
Mhm. And also the wonderful thing is that Kintsugi, as a Japanese theme, literally comes from there's beauty in imperfection, right? So
Yeah.
it's probably not about figuring out 100% anyways, because we might never do that, but it's the journey that really matters, right?
Exactly.
Yes. And
I
it's been
love
a
it.
long journey.
So like one thing that nags me is in the cigar industry, we speak a lot about passion. There's so many wonderful stories, so many wonderful people within this industry. Yet, especially with the current challenges that we're all facing as a global community, do you sometimes feel like the industry as such is at a little bit of a crossroads as well?
I'll let Bradley take that one for sure.
Yeah. You know, with what's going on in the States, the FDA is coming down on us. And, before or earlier this year, we saw, some bigger companies, leaving our trade show, PCA. So, you see a lot of the issues that we have as an industry. You see it every day. And, it happens all across the world. You see, people going to plain packaging, and having to put warning stickers, and it's happening all over the world. So we see this very fragmented industry where no one is really on the same page. And that was our kind of segue with Kintsugi, is we have this broken bowl or plate, and what's that gold lacquer? What that brings us back together? Kind of what's the glue? And so, naturally, it's been this cigar. It's what you think is that gold lacquer. It's what we all love and makes us, do what we do. But with COVID happening and us being able to jump on a virtual herf or a live stream, talk the same talk and walk the same walk, we're all on a level playing field now. No one is able to do events and offer bigger giveaways or this or that. We all can only, jump online, jump on social media and talk with our consumers and our retailers or distributors and partners. This is all we have right now is a camera and a microphone. And that is what has brought us together. That, COVID, as terrible as it is, it's brought the industry a whole lot closer together because we're all speaking the same language and all only have the same opportunity to reach our consumers and our friends and family, whoever. This is it. This is what we have.
I knew Bradley would answer that question perfectly, so that's why I wanted to pass it to him.
Thank you.
Well, I guess Kintsugi has been quite a couple of months or probably years in the making, but would you say it's the ultimate cigar for everything that's going on in the world right now?
I don't know if everyone's going to take away from it what some others will, like me. It's meant a lot to me in the making, for sure, because I think the story is beautiful, and yeah, it relates to current times right now, but it's a lasting message in that the story and the journey and your scars basically are what make you who you are. No one is perfect, and the problems that one may face isn't what makes you worse, but makes you better by overcoming it. So it's a very lifelong lasting message, and not everyone's going to get it just by looking at a box of cigars and getting that feeling. But it's all about, will that person pick it up and enjoy the cigar, and then take the time to research, what does Kintsugi mean? Why that name, and why would they pick that name? So they may be able to find more about it online from the cigar side and how it relates to our industry, or they may just find it on Wikipedia and say, what is the overall message of Kintsugi, which is that there's beauty in the imperfections. So whether they take that meaning or kind of the way that we segued it to the cigar industry, it doesn't matter to me as long as they enjoy the cigar and hopefully take away some sort of message that sticks with them for the long run.
It's a wonderful point. Thank you. Filippo, you had another question.
Basically, it's always something when you get in love of a new blend. What makes you decide to add it to one of the brands or to make a new brand following that new brand?
So we have a couple of ways that we smoke cigars within our office and when we're down at the factory. We go down, we blend constantly. We can come back with anywhere from 5 to 25 new blends. And once we find a blend within the office that we like, we always we try it, we smoke it at work, we smoke it at the factory. But then the last thing we do, once we think we found a blend that we like, is we always go home and smoke it. Because there's this different level of relaxation when you're at home smoking a cigar, either by yourself or with friends or family, where the point is to not have to think about the blend and the cigar. Because when you're smoking with a purpose at the factory or at the office, it's very hard to discern whether that cigar is something that's right for the marketplace or not. But when you go home and take the time to do it in your own time, when you're relaxing, if you still enjoy the cigar then, at that moment, that's your time. That's how we kind of figure out whether that's a cigar we should bring to market or not. If I have to think about a cigar while I'm smoking it at home, watching TV, hanging out with friends or family, or just whatever it may be, if I have to think about it and overthink about it, then I know that blend isn't right. But if it just kind of flows and I realize I'm just smoking the entire thing without thinking about the characteristics or the notes or whatever it may be, I mean, that's really, for me, and I think for Bradley as well, how I know if that cigar is ready to bring out. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, in a certain way. But the idea in the question was, when do you decide, oh, I can do a new brand with this blend, or just I like this blend and I added to one of the brands you already have?
Yeah, to answer your question, I think it's all kind of strategic sometimes. You may smoke something like, we have black market and we have black market Esteli. And so sometimes it's good to build off of one of your successful brands. Black market is one of our top selling cigars worldwide. So we wanted to build off of that. People love black market brand. So we wanted to come out with black market Esteli, something that gives you a similar experience, but different flavors. How the cigar performs, where it hits you on your palate. You go, okay, I want to create a brand that's similar. People hopefully get the same experience, but a little bit different, but the same amount of enjoyment. So sometimes in that regard, you can be strategic because you want people to love that black market brand. And then other times it's just, I have this idea, Magic Toast, a newer cigar for us, has been extremely successful. And it was a name that our father came up with based off of the story of being in the field. And he found this beautiful Maduro wrapper that he thought kind of went along with this theme of nighttime almost. And so it all is just on a cigar basis, how does it fit into our portfolio, and where does it belong in terms of the brand itself? So it goes on a case by case basis, and just kind of see how does it work for the overall brand. I hope that answered your question.
Filippo, many thanks for the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Gentlemen, I'm thoroughly enjoying our conversation. Yet, of course, we also want to be respectful of your precious time, and I'm so grateful and honored that you shared this precious afternoon with us and bring all your considerations and your thoughts to the table. So, thank you very much for that.
Reinhard, thank you so much for having us on, first off, and second for the research and the questions that you asked, because they were definitely on a different level. I will say that for sure. They were not easy questions to answer.
Alec,
Really
thank
made me
you so much.
really made me dig down and think about it.
Thank you. Hopefully it just shows my very honest and most grateful ambition and my passion that to want to get you guys better and to share some of the amazing work that you all do with our global cigar family. And this is really what Light 'em Up has been all about from the very beginning, to just bring people together and build something for the cigar family. And let me take this moment to also let you all know, because we got a lot of questions, what's going to happen to Light 'em Up once the situation gets better and once the whole COVID situation clears up a little bit. Hopefully you all read it through the Cigar Journal newsletter, but Light 'em Up is certainly here to stay. We did over 50 sessions. We had more than 200,000 viewers over the last 3.5 months, and I'm beyond grateful and honored for all the love and passion, and for all the people that support us and join these wonderful sessions. And it is definitely here to stay. So we will continue, and beginning next week, we're gonna have one weekly installment, always Wednesday evening. We'll bring along some other stuff, like a podcast in the making this autumn, and hopefully quite a few other sessions, like some Instagram lives. But definitely Light 'em Up is here to stay, and please tune in again on all our Wednesday sessions for some more epic conversations like the one I was honored to share with you, Alec, and with you, Bradley.
Thank you so much again for having us on. Like Alex said, the questions, I mean, you give your viewers something different than just anyone else. So to share this with people around the world is special, and I'm happy to hear that you guys will continue to keep it going, because you truly are asking questions that no one else is asking, and taking the time to give your viewers and listeners a different experience. So thank you.
I have one final question for you before we wrap things off.
Oh no, another tough one.
It's rather a personal one, I'd say.
Okay.
Which could be tough, but it's very genuine and it comes from heart. Looking back at the history of you gentlemen working alongside your father, how would you like, further down the road, your own kids to someday think about the industry and about the company that you have built together with your family?
That is another tough question, like I said.
Yeah.
For me, I don't want to pressure my children to come into the family business, just like my father did not pressure us to come in. He gave us every opportunity to do anything else that we wanted, but because we fell in love with the industry and with tobacco and cigars, we both just, jumped in head first. I think he's, very proud and excited about that. I'm sure he is. And I think I would like them to view, at least my kids to view the company and what we've done the same way that I am so proud and honored to be, proud of what my father did and honored to be a part of it. I hope they view it the same way that I do, personally. And if they don't, then so be it. But only time will tell, right?
Yeah. For me, similar answer to Alec. Whether my kids or kid decides to come into the family business, and that was one of the main reasons that I wanted to join, was so I can have the opportunity for my kids that my father gave to us. But whether the viewpoint I would like them to have is that this simple but complicated product isn't something that needs to be looked down upon for any reason, except it needs to be looked at as something that brings people together. and that people that make this, you know, they're not just employees, they're artists in what they do, and that everyone that helps us make this product, they're all just as important as we are, because without them, we're nothing. So I just want them and everyone else to realize that this simple product is it's joyful, and that it brings us as a community, it brings us closer together. And that's why I love this product so much.
What a perfect way to end this wonderful conversation. Alec, Bradley, Rubin, thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you for being
Cheers.
part of Light 'em Up. Cheers to you, and many thanks.
Thanks again.
Cheers.
You have a good one.
Thank you, guys.